Well, I think it was a dream for both of us. Passion in Action was a conversation for, I think, quite a number of years. I mean, Judith might probably know more precisely how long, but it was something that definitely was a deep conversation that we had many times. I know I've always known Judith to have a very, very deep commitment to sort of social issues and awareness and extreme awareness about what's going on. And, you know, we'd talk a lot about doing something like that. We should do something like that, we would say. And eventually we said, why not? You know, let's create a space where it doesn't matter if you know NLP or not, where people can get together and really, you know, bring their heartbeats to the world. And that's the only agenda, is to go, how can we apply some of our knowledge and NLP knowledge, as well as, you know, the various expertises that, you know, we have in other areas. How can we create a forum where people can come and really have an opportunity to dream together, you know, have the opportunity to bring their heartbeats to the world and make it into something tangible, you know? Well, I think what passion and action means to me is that, like, it's great to do practitioner and master practitioner and trainer in NLP, as we were saying, and even master trainer. I can't tell you how many times during the master training we just finished that I used examples from passion and action to point out projects that people said couldn't be done that are realities and have been realities for a while, you know, based on that. So what it really means to me is that it's an opportunity for people to leave a legacy. You know, it's an opportunity for people to do something beyond, you know, their roles in life and ambitions in life, but to really leave something that'll go farther than them and it'll touch other people's lives. And when they're not here anymore, that will live on. But when Patti Novick was there, and was talking about her experience of walking with Martin Luther King as a 17-year-old kid and kind of making a promise to him that if anything happened to him, because things in the world were as such that something could happen to him, that if something did, that, you know, she would carry on his work. And, you know, just what was in the air in that moment, you could almost eat it. You know, it was so amazing. And so it was sort of that kind of spectacular description of a person's real awakening, you know, a real awakening to go, I do have something to contribute. I do want to leave a legacy. And another one that really pops to my mind was John Spears. And Judith and I were modeling John Spears, and he was talking about his project, you know, for being able to support people with various kinds of physical issues and stuff, you know, in companies, so that they could actually have some opportunities there. And it was his sort of innocence and the simplicity of going, well, I don't know what I'm doing, you know, and wow, am I doing all that? You know, but the clarity with which this whole strategy and structure sort of unfolded, but he was so humble and innocent around, in a way, what he had inside of there, you know, to offer. So those are the two that really jump out for me in the moment. Well, I mean, she's like a soul sister. Working with Judith is like, you know, um, gosh, that's such a great question. First of all, it's fun. I feel like it's an easy flow. You know, we're just sort of in the same resonant field all the time somehow. It's easy to sort of really have that deeper connection and resonance. And I think because we share some values that are really strong, first of all, that Judith is always so much fun, incredibly smart, you know, extremely well read, and a researcher in a way that I am absolutely not. So I think we also have not only these commonalities, but with Judith, I think there's also these complementarities that just make for a really beautiful strength. Well, I think we have really a lot. First, as I said, I think NLP is about, as Robert would say, it's tools for dreamers. And so, first of all, it creates the opportunity for people to really share it, have a dream, permission to dream, motivation to dream, to share the dream, and to get feedback and support around it, you know, to have other people connect to that and find overlapping places in a way in their dreams, and finding those places where the dreams overlap so they can find a sense of mutual support. Now, sometimes that's only by going, yes, you know, that you're on it, you know, you're on the path. Don't give up on that. And other times it's a real concrete, here's a set of connections that can, you know, can make a difference and help bring this into reality. So I think around the process of dreaming and projects, first of all. Second of all is that, you know, that state of being inside of the human being, that inner game, so, or the inner world, that connection between the cognitive mind and the somatic mind into the field, so that people have, you know, there aren't any challenges in the inner world, you know, and once there's no, you can kind of clear out the limiting beliefs and I can't, and it's not possible for me, and I don't deserve it, and I really don't have anything to contribute, all that, you know, sort of stuff that happens on the inner game, that's such challenge. Then there's a sense of there's something that can flow out of that. There will be challenges. You know, anybody who has a project and a dream big enough to inspire others is probably going to meet challenges in the outer world. But you can really, NLP really does also offer the tools to kind of respond to the challenges in the inner world. Yes, is it gives us the tools to really model each other's successes. And, you know, to be able to get a sense of that structure, a sort of a cognition or a metacognition about that structure of success, so that as a human being, I have the potential to recapitulate that, to uptake it in my way and use that as a form that can support my project. Mm. And also to model my own successes. You know, it gives me the tools to model when I've been successful with something and when it's been a challenge, and the difference that makes the difference. Exciting. It's going to be exciting to have a space where it's really like a residential. I mean, it is a residential space where, you know, we can really eat together and share, you know, together through the whole day. And because I always say, you know, the real learning is not necessarily happening in the classroom. You know, the real learning quite often is happening in the deeper conversations and connections that are made outside in the evenings and at lunch breaks and coffee breaks. And it's so much fun to get back to doing passion in action again, because it sort of is my passion in action. Certainly, I think that people that don't yet have a very well formulated project or vision, that they will certainly come out with something a lot more tangible and doable and with a lot of support to do it. I know that. I know people will get more of a sense of alignment and more connection and more choice about staying present, staying connected to that dream and vision, because that's where the inspiration comes from. You know, when I lose the connection to the project, the dream, the vision, I usually quite often lose my inspiration and motivation, because I have to kind of have that sensibility of that resonance always being there between that thing I want to create, but I have to live it in the present, and kind of finding that interesting balance between being present with awareness to my project, but also living life right now. I think so that internal congruence, I think a lot of generative collaboration, you know, they're going to really, really understand the whole process of being able to generatively collaborate with others to create a field, to close, you know, I know there's a couple of things that in social kinds of projects that I find people that have a lot of willingness to give is a lot of times they get isolated and don't feel like they have the support, that they're doing it all by themselves, and it's a big vision or a big project, and feeling, that they don't have that support system around them and the mentorship and the sponsorship in a way around them. I think they're going to get a lot of that. I think that they're also going to get tools for creating bridges between parts of the system, which they quite often will see as the enemy. This is the part of the system that's making this thing happen. The parts of the system that we kind of want to blame for that, but to start to be able to hold the system and the whole field in a way that at least gives the opportunity to think about how would you build a bridge, because a lot of times it's by connecting, just like connecting to ourselves in a deeper way, connecting to another part of the system in a deeper way, gives us a way to build the bridge. But not only that, a lot of times we can change that into a real ally. That part of the system can become an ally. Quite often it's the same part of the system we really need, Yeah. Well, I think some of the consequences are always that people go away with more sort of an enriched landscape around what's possible, and that those dreams, some of those dreams will become a reality. I mean, that's always my hope, that, another year from now we go back and there's, another orphanage in Africa, as we've seen, which was another amazing highlight. And to see that continuing on. And that's what I really mean by legacy. People are really doing something that will go beyond them. Well, I would like to see passion in action be happening all over the world. I think I would really love to see, Chile going, come do passion in action here, or doing some approximation of something like that. It'd really be beautiful to see the whole NLP community in various forms kind of taking up that torch in a way and making that a part of everything else they do, whether it's integrated or not integrated, or separate, but it's an awareness that's held in the field. I think that would be a really beautiful thing from my point of view, that it's an awareness held in the field. And I think that through this kind of idea of more and more developing this sense of balance between the ego and soul, where people start to make a distinction between what's just my role and ambition, but really what's my special heartbeats and my uniqueness, and how can I leave something that goes beyond me. I think the more that sort of is generated in the field, the better, of course. But I think Passion in Action was one of the, the seminars that really ignited and really sort of represented, even though we didn't talk about it that way, that's what we were trying to say. Let's find this place where there's that balance between making a contribution that outlasts me and just, sort of living my ambition for me and mine. Well, that's a great question. I guess, one of the things that comes to mind right now is like next year, I think there's a certain amount of healing that has to happen in the field before more I think there is good generative collaboration. I see it mostly when people come to a seminar or something, and it's part of the process of the seminar, and it's an ongoing process, and people are doing it, and they're getting a reference experience for doing real generative collaboration. How well that sustains itself outside, I don't know. I mean, again, certainly Passion in Action, that was part of our whole kind of platform, was that idea of generative collaboration and that mutual support and finding those points of overlap in the shared visions or the visions, so that we, knew what to offer, knew what questions to ask each other, and knew what our needs were and what our resources were, so we knew what to offer and exchange. We're going to have a big conference, I guess, next year at NLPU. I guess it's out. The word is out. And I think that's, maybe one way is to create, conferences where some of the leadership and the people that have a passion about NLP in general can come together and maybe have more and more reference experiences about that it's safe and it's okay to share what you know with others and not be afraid that it's going to disappear, or you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Communities are quite often for if you look at a community of birds, it's based on some shared resource, like here's the water, and you get all kinds of different kinds of birds that show up to have a drink there. And I think it's a similar kind of thing. And I think people just feel well, I mean, another thing I would say is that I think people are afraid sometimes of sharing. I don't, and people have so much to share, and that, people are making judgments about each other, like you said, which, we have the tools in NLP to say, hey, there's enough, you can have enough strength in yourself that you don't have to be challenged or, or threatened by somebody else having an idea. And that will only grow stronger from that. And that is our community, We just need, to have more reference experiences about having the shared drinking space, I think. And, you can read articles now on creativity even, and people doing extraordinary things. And the underlying idea below it is nobody does it alone. Nobody does it alone. People always have some kind of supporting system, mentorship, sponsorship. Well, how would I say it? In a way, it's about kind of having an awareness of your mission, in a way, your uniqueness, I think, and having a comfort with that. And for me, I always talked about mission. And I'm one of those people that doesn't necessarily know from the inside what my mission is. And so I know by the ease with which I can stay present and embodied. That's how I kind of sense my true north. So if the world is pulling it out of me, but I know my true north when I can have a sense of what's in front of me, but everything inside is at ease and it's at peace, and I feel a sense of embodiment. And then I can, there's no beating my head against the wall. Is this the right thing? I don't know. That just sort of, there's a point of flow. That's how I know my true north. Some people are born, just knowing what to do with their heartbeats. I wasn't one of those, but the world calls it out of me. And when I'm on my true north, I know it because it's a place of flow.